Hi and welcome to the short tutorial where I will show you how to use the Raimme platform to create a very simple basic web application. The app will be based on data and it will be used to store information about customers and orders. So let's say it's a simple order management system or a CRM. Um, I'm already logged into the Raimme platform to the online environment and I'm in the app view of my new app, and the menu doesn't display anything, not much at least, because there isn't anything in the app yet. So to go ahead and create my first app, I need to go to the setup panel, and here I have a bunch of sections. I can manage data, so I can manage databases, add objects to the database and modify them. I can also manage my web part, so I can manage web actions, web pages, and so on. I can manage my code base, so I can add logic in Java to the background of my app. I can customize advanced business processes, and I can manage users and profiles of my app, so authentication is built in. And then I have a bunch of other tools like schedule tasks, data imports, and notification tasks, file management, calendar, and also what's very important, a code editor, so an online code editor for my Java and front-end code base. So let's go ahead and start with creating a new object. Let's say I want to add a customer object. I go to the object panel and I have a bunch of built-in standard objects listed here. And so these are the objects that the Raimme platform provides out of the box, and I can use them right away. And there are also custom objects that are created by the user, so by a developer. And I will create a new object now. I will call it a customer, and I will add a package. So a package is just a namespace for the object, and the label of the object will be customer, and the plural label will be customers. And that's it. I save the new customer object, and it's created. So I have this object here, and I have a few tabs. The most important one for us now is the fields tab. When I have the new object, it's like a database table, and I have a few columns generated by the Raimme platform automatically. So I have an ID column, created by column, which is a reference to the user that created a record of this object, last modified by, which is also a reference to a user that last modified the object, and also to columns when the object was last modified and when it was created. So for a customer, I would like to store their name and let's say the size of the company. So I will just say new field. The field will be called name. And when I create a new field, I can select from a bunch of data types. So I can make it a text field, an auto number, a number, date time, boolean field, and enumeration. I will tell you later what it is. An email field, a formula, and also a couple of fields that um, reference other objects. So I can create references to other objects or collections to other objects. So text field is our choice. The name of the name will be a text field. Let's say we want to make it 100 characters maximum, and let's make it required, and let's make it unique, and set it as the default field. So I will set the field, and the field is created. I go back to my customer definition, go back to the fields tab, and here I have my new field. And basically now the Raimme platform not only created this object, it also auto-generated the views for this object. So when you go back to the app by clicking Open App, you can see that in the menu on the left hand side there is a new item called Customers, and when you open it you get a list of customers here. So that's been generated automatically by the platform, and there are no customers yet. but I can create a new one. So I just click new, and I have a form for adding new customer with my name field here. So I will just say Mark Smith and save this customer, and the customer is saved. I can edit it and change the name Mike Jones, save, and when I go back to the customers tab, there is a list of customers, and this customer is already here, so I can just find it. Okay, that's great. That's the first step, but I would like to add more fields to the customer. So I can go back to my setup panel, go back to data objects, go back to the customer object, and add another field like, let's say, birth date. Let's assume I do care about their birth date. So I select date, and I will just save the field without any properties. Okay, and go back to the fields tab and add another field called gender. Yes, and I will make it an enumeration. So an enumeration is basically a pick list of values, so you can just say male or female and save this field. Great. So let's go back to my app to see how it works. To the customers tab and open Mark Jones. And here I can see that the new fields have been added to the form. They are empty because we haven't put any values, but I can edit them. So let's select birth date and let's select gender. Save the customer, and here we go. The information is saved. So that's great. We have one object, but we also want to store information about orders. So let's just very quickly create an order. It's another object, and let's call it sales order because order is actually a reserved keyword, and add one field, the number of the order, and let's make it an auto number with a prefix order, and let's save it. And here when I go back, I can see that I have a new object called order, and obviously there are no records yet, and also there is no relationship between the customer and the order, and I do want such relationship to exist. So I will just go back to my data panel, and on the order object I will create a new field called customer. So this will be a reference to my customer object, and as the data type I will select object reference, and it will reference the customer object. Okay, let's make it required because there has to be a customer for each order, and let's save it. Great. And also let's create another field on the customer, because for each customer I want to have a list of orders. So let's go back to the customer object, go to the fields tab and add a new field called orders. Okay, and this time it will be a collection of objects, and the objects in the collection will be orders, and we will display this list as a new tab and save it. Okay, great. So let's see how it works. I have a new order here. I can add a new order, and when I add a new order I can select a customer to which this order is assigned. So let's just say Mark Jones and save the order. The order is saved. It has an auto-generated number, order 00001, and a reference to the customer. So when I click the customer name, I can go to the customer, but here on the customer object, I would like to have the list of orders that they made. So I have to set this up in my administration panel. I go to the administration panel, go to user settings, and I will create a new setting called display collection on record details and make it true. So when I go back to my app and go back to my customer, I can see that a new tab has been added to the customer view. It's called orders. And when I click this tab, I can see a list of all orders assigned to this customer right away. So I can just go to this order or create a new order for this customer. Let's create another one. I've created the second order, and when I go back to the customer and orders, I can see that there are two orders now. Yeah, so that's great. We can auto-generate views, but what about if you want some more advanced features like uh, these auto-generated views are great, but you want advanced view options, you want to build your custom frontend. So that's not a problem. Let's go to the customer tab and let's say we want to change the view of the customer details. So let's go to actions and views, and here you have a list of all actions for this object. So you have a list of how objects are displayed in a list, how are they are displayed, the details of the object, uh, how the form of the object is displayed, and how the create view is displayed. So if you want to modify the way that users see the customer details, you just basically click the edit button on the view action, and here you can select create a new action for this standard action. So you just say it will be customer details action, and yeah, and you will generate a new view for this action. It will be called custom customer details view, and you will apply this to all profiles. So once you do that and you save, the view of the customer details is handled by your new action. So you can actually go to this new action and go to the view of the action, open this view in the IDE, and you can see the source code of the view. So you can basically just add something on top. Let's say this is my new customer view, and you will save it. And when you go back to your app and go back to your customer details view, so you can see that the part you added has appeared here. So this way you can basically modify the whole view here with a pure JavaScript, HTML, and so on. So let's just say I will also add some JavaScript. Let's say just a very basic action like alert hello. Okay, and when I go back to my view and refresh it, there is an alert here that says hello. So you can basically create anything you want. You can modify fonts, you can even get rid of this whole form altogether, and you get an empty view, and you can do whatever you like here, and you can add your own code, front-end code, using some external JavaScript libraries like Bootstrap. Okay, so that's great. And how about new actions? Let's say you want for a customer, uh, when you go to the customer view, you want to have a button that says uh, call this customer. You want the button here. So how do we go about this? We have to create a new action. So to create a new action, we have to create a controller and add a view for this action. So let's go to our code editor. Let's get rid of the annoying JavaScript part, and we have to create a new controller. Let's create templates controller. Let's call it uh, button controller, and let's create a new action called, it will be a REST action, so it will just call it contact, and um, it will basically just uh, return a view that says that whose name is um, contact view, and you just create this action like this, and you okay, so we have this new URL action. Oh, let's call it action. Okay, let's call it custom button controller, because button controller is also a reserved name. Okay, so the warning here says there is no such view as contact view, so you cannot save it because you cannot redirect this action to such view. But that's not a problem. Let's create this view. Let's call it contact view, and let's just add some line contact customer. Okay, so we have this view saved. Let's save the action as well. Let's save it. Okay. Okay. It's saved now, and great. So what do we do next? We have this action. It's available at this URL, but how do we call it? You go to the customer object, and here you have a tab called buttons. So you just create a new button, call it contact, and action. It will be just a URL. So uh, save this button, great. And let's go back to our app, go back to customers, and click Mark Jones. And we have a new button here. It's called contact, just as we wanted. And when we click this button, yep, we are taken to our view that's called contact customer. So that's great. This is exactly what we defined here, contact customer. Um, that's nice, but let's say we want to modify the layout here. We don't want this left-hand menu, we don't want this top bar, we just want, you know, a plain empty layout that we'll fill in ourselves. So just let's go to the view and modify the layout and just call it blank. And when we go back here and refresh, it's blank. It's just the content that we defined. So that's fantastic. I mean, that's fast. And so, but it's just static text. It doesn't contain any data. So let's display customers here. Let's have an action that actually displays customers. Um, so let's go to our controller and create a new REST action. It will be called, sorry for, yes, get customers, and it will return a list of customers. Okay, and what it will do, it will just select all customers from the database. So let's select name, orders, ID from customer. So let's see how this action works actually. Um, let's see how this action works. Let's call it first using um, just the browser. So let's type in the browser address get customers. Let's, and you can see that this action returns a list of customers in JSON format. What we want to do now is to display the list of customers here on this view. So we go back to our code editor and go back to our contact view and just call this REST action from JavaScript. So I will just paste the code here. It just performs a post method to the get customers action, and it returns some data, and then it puts the data into a UL list tag and appends this tag to the body. So let's just save this, and when we go back to this view and refresh, you can see that there is a list of customers here. It's been added. We can also like add some formatting to this, like CSS, font, weight, bold, just to show you the effect, and refresh, and the name is bold right now. So that's very simple, and you can create very advanced logic using the platform. You can also modify the actions that handle the data display uh, by going to the customer or order or any object's details and clicking on the actions and views. And when you have this action here, you can just go and modify the action. You can add your own custom controller to handle this data. And but I guess we will cover these more advanced topics in another part of the series of Raimme tutorials. So if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. You can always go to http://raimme.com and ask a question there, or contact us directly at contact@raimme.com, and also visit our Facebook and Twitter profiles and paste questions there. So um, have fun playing around with Raimme, and let us know whether it's useful to you and how you can use it in your developer work. Good luck!